Board, we are live.
Good morning and welcome to the December 21st work session of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Councilwoman Burke-Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Lease.
Present.
Councilwoman Overby.
Here.
Councilman Bragman.
Jeff's away from his seat right now.
You want to continue, Carol?
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States to the republic
Under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Today we have a public portion where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. We ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And then we'll have a discussion of the draft airport re-envisioning public engagement report. This is the culmination of our various public engagement sessions. We'll have Lisa LaCourie and Peter Flinker from Dodson and Flinker Outside Consultants presenting the report. That'll be followed by liaison reports, and we do have some resolutions to offer. So if we can go to the phones, Jason, we'll take public comment now.
All right, we have quite a few people on here, so I'll start unmuting. Hello, caller, 1146, you're on the air. Hello. Let's double check. Hello, caller, ending in 1146, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello?
Yes.
Sorry, could you put me back of the line?
I could not understand you. Could you please repeat?
Yes, I'm sorry. Could you just put me to the back of the list for now? I have to call back.
Okay, thank you.
I have something.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. I'll try my best to put you on the back of the list. It might get a little confusing, but thank you very much. Okay, unmuting the next caller. Hello, caller, ending 1551. You are on the air. Hello.
Yes, hi. This is Karen Diamond, and I would just like to say that, as far as the Crandall Norfolk woodlands go, we support including that in the town's nature preserve.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you, and thank you for all that you've done with the Girl Scouts.
Okay.
Thank you, Karen. You have wonderful holidays.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, going on to next caller. Hello, caller, ending 0673. You are on the air. Hello. I heard someone on the line for a second. Hello, caller, ending 0673. You are on the air. Hello.
Hi there. Good morning, supervisors and members of the town board. This is Erin King Sweeney, Executive Director of the East Hampton Community Alliance. As you may know, EHCA has sought to raise the awareness about the economic and life-saving importance of the East Hampton Airport. We have commissioned an economic impact study, 2 environmental reports, and a diversion study. EHCA is urging the town board to continue to work cooperatively with stakeholders to develop a future for the airport. HCA does not believe that the rush to temporarily close the airport is in the best interest of the community. The approach should be thoughtful, engaging, and inclusive. It is in no one's interest to rush to temporarily close the airport based upon an artificial deadline, while risking litigation and other unknowns, such as the application of SECRA. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for taking the time to call, Erin. We appreciate your comments, and we will continue to work with various stakeholders throughout the town as we methodically move towards solutions.
Okay.
Can we go to the next caller, please?
Absolutely. We have a lot of people calling in, so I'm just juggling a few numbers here. Hello, caller, ending with 7461. You're on the air. Hello.
Hi, I'm Kathy McCormick, and on behalf of the neighbors in Springs, I'd like to thank you for having heard us and for settling the placement of the cell tower. It has been a privilege being part of this community of dedicated people who believe in the right thing to do. Today I'm asking that you preserve the 6.9 acres of the Crandall Norfolk woodlands as allowed under the town code. According to an old filed map, these woodlands were intended to be a park. Residents have been hiking there for at least 4 decades. We understand that there's a certain criteria to become part of the nature preserve and have evidence that the woodlands satisfy that criteria as a habitat for box turtles, a breeding place for turkeys, and a popular place for scouts to achieve the requirements for various badges, showing that the woodlands are suitable for educational activities. We will be following up this request in writing. Again, I thank you and happy holidays to everyone.
Thanks so much for calling in, Kathy. We appreciate having you engage with us about the Crandall Woodlands, and I'm glad that we seem to be working on a path towards a solution to our cell issues and emergency communications.
Yes, it's made this a very happy holiday. Thank you.
Great.
All right.
Take care.
Unmuting next caller. Okay, let's see. Caller ending 1936. You are on the air. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for this moment to speak. This is Alex Rodriguez, a resident of Crandall Street in Springs. And I wanted to voice my support, I would like to reiterate every one of Kathy's points. Thank you very much. It's very true. This area is much needed green space, has been a respite. The Boy Scouts, to my knowledge, don't have a place dedicated for their use in the vicinity. And I understand a lot of young people, including Boy Scouts, use the place for exploration, for outdoor activities, myself and my family as well, for foraging, for looking at wildlife, for finding a moment in peace. So thank you so much to the board for finding a solution that works for everybody, it seems. I don't think that there's a lot of opposition to having the tower at the Girl Scouts, so thank you very much for that. And I do support including the Crandall Norfolk woodlands in the town's nature preserve. So I thank the board for its consideration of that and for its hard work in coming to this resolution as well. Thank you very much for this moment.
Thank you for taking the time to call us, Alex, and have a wonderful holiday.
Okay.
You as well. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to next caller. Okay, caller ending 2866. You are on the air. Hello.
Thank you. This is Jackie Esposito. I live on Lincoln Avenue in Springs. I'm also here to support Kathy McCormick's nomination of the Crandall Norfolk Woodlands to be included in the town's nature preserve. With respect to the cell tower, I think we can all agree that while ultimately the siting of the tower is the right outcome for our town, the process for getting here and for the community engagement could have been improved. We look forward to working with the new board to do that. That said, I'd like to thank Mr. Jelnicki and his entire team for their professionalism and courtesy throughout this process. You responded to foils in a timely manner and treated us with compassion and respect every step of the way. I would also like to thank Councilman Jeff Bragman for his dedication to our community. I always say, Jeff, you are our advocate before we knew we needed one. Thank you for your service to our town. To date, more than 600 local supporters have called on the town board to protect the woodlands, including the nonprofit organization Turtle Rescue of the Hamptons. Preserving what's left of our woodlands and open space in our densely populated Springs neighborhood is critical. As you know, other Springs communities have large swaths of preserved open space, including our neighbors along Talmadge Farm Lane, Accabonac Road, Clearwater Beach, and Longwoods Lane. But in our neighborhood in Springs, there are only a few partial or small lots scattered about. One of these tiny open spaces is adjacent to 17 Hawthorne Street, vacant land that, as I understand it from a local neighbor, will be the subject of a town board vote for possible real estate development next month. Our community deserves to have meaningful preserved open space, not just greenbelts. The woodlands clearly meet the criteria to be included in the town's nature preserve. Only one factor must be met to qualify. The Crandall Norfolk woodlands meet several. As you've heard, and we've provided evidence the woodlands are habitat for box turtles, which are species of special concern in New York State. The woodlands are also habitat for breeding, feeding, and resting wildlife, as required by Chapter 182. I saw a family of 5 turkeys wandering the woodlands just this year. Third, the town board heard earlier this year that the woodlands have provided a space for our local Boy Scouts to earn their badges, demonstrating the woodlands are well suited for environmental educational programs under 182. And lastly, the woodlands are adjacent to preserved land, making them not only an essential buffer to preserved land under 182, but one contiguous preserved area, which is what we believe it was intended to be. Finally, I'd like to recognize the Springs residents and my neighbors who have lived here for decades and raised their kids here. The families in our neighborhood are our teachers, police officers, municipal employees, grocery store workers, artists, landscapers, and more. These woodlands are their slice of the beauty of the Hamptons. They deserve to enjoy the natural beauty of our community just as much as the folks who live by Buckskill. We look forward to working with the new town board to preserve this wonderful piece of land for our Springs community. Thanks to all of you for hearing us. Thank you for ultimately doing the right thing.
Thank you for calling in, Jackie. Have a great holiday.
Moving on to the next call. Yes, we have quite a few. And if I may ask, people who have already spoken, if you would mind hanging up after you're done speaking, just because it would help us over here on our end managing the amount of numbers that we have on the screen. But thank you very much. So let me go on to the next caller. Hello, caller ending 5635. You are on the air. Let me just make sure you're unmuted. Hold up. Okay, here
yes.
we go. Hello, there you are.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Thank you very much.
Excellent. My name is Karen Simon, and I live within the fall zone of the proposed cell tower chapel at 465 Old Stone Highway at St. Peter's Church. And about 1,100 of us organized 2 years ago and thought we had succeeded in preventing this cell tower from being allowed to move forward. We have just learned that the planning board has now passed a resolution allowing the construction of a cell tower or monopole. The residents of the Springs here need to understand how we got here and what our process is going forward on how we can be heard. I've read through both the AT&T lawsuit and the town's rebuttal, and I just want to raise 1 or 2 relevant issues which I feel are important for the planning board to consider. One is about the variance, which is a critical oversight in our opinion, is that there needs to be a height limitation variance. Although the height of the existing church is clearly grandfathered, now that you're proposing to add height without a variance from the height limitation, it is impermissible because it increases the already non-conforming height of the building. A variance from the pyramid setback limitation, which was granted by the zoning board, does not cure the separate and distinct fact that such a structure exceeds the maximum height limitation as specified in the East Hampton Town Code, Town of East Hampton, Section 255-11-10-3. Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations, Part 2, the maximum height in a B residence is 2.5 stories or 25 feet. I'm particularly concerned as we live in the house right behind the church, 463 Old Stone Highway, which is in the fall zone, and we're wondering how is it possible that a variance for the fall zone could be approved? Does the town and the chapel truly have zero regard for the lives and safety of the congregants of the chapel and its neighbors who are within the fall zone? And that's my statement, and I have been in contact with John Jelnicki, who's been very helpful, and I do want to understand what the relevant issues are going forward and how we can be informed of the process and voice our opinions. Do you Karen, need my contact information? Yeah.
John, would you care to answer the question?
Sure. I couldn't release a copy of the STIP until it's fully signed, but basically, I guess I'm going to kind of disclose a big part of it. It's basically an expedited review schedule. They will still need to go and get whatever variances they may need and site plan approval from the planning board. It doesn't, there's no foregoing the process. It's just agreeing to the time period by which the process will be pursued, basically. So there still will be, each board will have public hearings. If variances are required, they'd have to hold a public hearing to grant those variances. Public will have an opportunity to give their input, and the board will make a decision. There's no assurance as to what the outcome of the process will be before the boards, but there is a consequence as far as the outcome. If some alternate application is not approved, they will have the right to build the initial structure that was denied by the planning board, which is the Campanile structure.
So, John, just so I understand this, you're saying that we're going to get something, one or the other?
Yes, basically. That's essentially what it is.
And how did we find ourselves in that position? How did we lose this lawsuit?
Well, we didn't lose the lawsuit. It's a settlement of the lawsuit. Neither party has won or lost at this stage. So we have outside counsel.
For the citizens that live here that were opposed to it, I think it's a big loss. And the planning board said they didn't want it. So I'm not sure that I understand how this is not a loss.
Well, certainly, you can challenge, you certainly can bring your own action if, in fact, an outcome that you don't like results. We certainly can't preclude anybody from exercising their rights in any way. You're not a party to the litigation or the settlement, so it doesn't take away your rights from that perspective. But I would say participate in the site plan review, and if there is any zoning board application and approval needed, that review as well, and let the board know, both you and your neighbors, let the boards know where you stand on it before they make any kind of a decision.
And John, how do we keep apprised of our opportunities to participate? What's the best way to be notified?
If you're an adjacent neighbor,
you'll get a notice
requirement.
There is a notice requirement, but if you want to just check you can just shoot me an email now and then. I can always check the calendar and see if I can tell you if anything's coming up. But you should be getting a direct notice by way of a letter from the applicant to you, telling you that there's an application that's filed. If you're an adjoining neighbor, you should have notice.
Yes. Okay. We should have received that already, or no?
No, not yet.
Meeting.
Yeah. It hasn't happened yet. But you will receive the notice. You should receive the notice. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, John, and just so I guess my question is, if we get notices and you're saying that it's kind of a done deal, that we're going to have to give them something, whether it's the Campanile or the monopole. The monopole still's on the table, right?
That is my understanding, that is what they're looking to get an approval for, and whether or not they do is up to the planning board and the zoning board. And you can participate in that process. So definitely. Okay,
so the only thing we can really do is voice an opinion about how we feel about it, but we can't stop one of these solutions from going forward unless we file a separate and fund a separate legal action.
I would say that's a good analysis. If in fact the planning board or zoning board is not inclined to give them what they need to build an alternate installation, then it defaults by way of the stipulation to the Campanile as far as the town's approvals are concerned. So yes, that would be the only recourse.
And John, what did you think about the thing that I quoted at the beginning about the variance, about how the church was grandfathered into the height limitation variance, But now that they're adding the campanile, how are they allowed to do that without a variance from the height limitation?
There are certain structures that I don't want to get into too much detail because there is still litigation pending, and we're probably discussing it a little more than we should. But
okay, all right.
Yeah, maybe I could talk to you offline.
Fine, that would be great, John. And you've been fantastic in answering my email, so I'll send you a separate email. But there's, do you want to say something? Well, yeah, wait 1 second, John.
Yes. John, hi, it's Valerie Coster, also the owner of 463 Old Stone Highway. I guess the only thing that I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around here is that with the previous zoning board, planning board, the public hearings that we went to, and then the determination which said that this was not going to go forward based on, the planning board's determination that this was not going to go forward. I'm presuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, was an Article 78 then filed by AT&T as a result of the planning board's, decision not to go forward with this?
That's correct.
So in that Article 78, then, when they come back with that, so does the Article 78 mean that it was granted by either the town or the county or the state, that AT&T, quote unquote, basically has, I'm going to just use a boxing term, has won this round?
Well, no, I mean, certainly not in the court, but this is a settlement based on our conversations with our outside counsel and what they deem to be the assessment of our likelihood of success. So
the counsel is saying
Valerie, I'm just gonna sorry to interrupt, but I think in terms of this issue, if you want to talk more with John offline about what options there are.
No problem. No problem. We can do that. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for taking the time to call us with your concerns, and have great holidays coming up.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. You too, John.
Happy holidays to all, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
You too.
Moving on to the next caller. Okay. Hello, caller 8764. You're on the air. Hello.
Good morning. This is David Buddha, and happy holidays to everyone. I have two important issues I'd like to discuss, so it might take a little bit of time. The first one, and I'll start with the issue that was just raised by one of the neighbors of the St. Peter's Chapel future cell phone service pole or campanile. I have to disagree with John in one respect. I certainly agree that all three parties to this federal litigation, the Planning Board, the ARB, Architectural Review Board, and the Town Board, all have the right to discuss at length in executive session any need to discuss with counsel the progress of the litigation and the potential for a settlement and the potential terms of the settlement. But once an agreement has been made in principle and a stipulation of settlement has been drafted and is being presented to all three boards, there is a public process that needs to go forward that does require the release of that document at the time that it's being discussed in public for approval. That has not occurred. Last Wednesday, the Planning Board, without it being even on the agenda, discussed at the tail end of their meeting, during the regular portion of their meeting, the proposed settlement. No copy of that settlement was made available to the public by the Planning Board, and as I said, it wasn't even on the agenda. What they did discuss, though, and their discussion was hampered by the chairman's erroneous notion that they should not discuss the essence of or the terms of the settlement, there was a mention that there would be an expedited review, and no one today or during the Planning Board discussion has said exactly what that means. And I should remind you how fraught with problems this expedited review concept has been in both the Duryea's litigation and let's call it the brush dump litigation, which is the sister litigation to this one brought by the same cell phone carrier, AT&T, or also more properly known as New Singular Wireless. That can be a real bugaboo, and someone needs to discuss what exactly that means. What expedited review have you agreed to? How expedited? In what way will the process be limited? But most importantly, what I heard from the planning board, from the one member of the planning board, and by the way, the vote was only 4 out of 7 people voted for it, 1 voted against it, 1 abstained, and 1 recused himself. The member of the board who spoke out and was silenced or shushed by the chairman at various points was mentioned that you are allowing them to propose an alternative, which he described as a monopole. Well, there are monopoles that are 185 feet tall, and there are monopoles that look like telephone poles, and there are monopoles that are existing utility poles, such as the type that Extenet Systems uses for their small cell phone service systems, the ones that are going up in parts of Amagansett, in Napeague, and in Montauk, because they also have the right, after federal litigation, to do so. And anyone that drives down State Highway 27 can see those installations going up. Now, those are for short distances. They are not, obviously don't provide the coverage that a 185-foot tower does, but they may be sufficient, and they may actually be much more preferable. So what I want you to tell me when you discuss this resolution number 1449 at the tail end of your meeting is what type of monopole are they being authorized to apply for? Is it the 50-foot telephone pole height that was originally discussed and recommended by members of the planning department when this application was presented to the planning board instead of their 50-foot campanile? Will it be limited to a 50-foot monopole? That's the question that I need to know. I think that you should discuss with the public. And I have to again say that once you schedule this matter for a public hearing, it's not a public hearing, schedule it for a public discussion and for a public adoption of a resolution of approving a stipulation of settlement, that document should have been made available to the public by posting it in the place that you always post your matters that are going to be discussed at the work sessions. You missed that opportunity. I think everyone's entitled to. Also, of course, people should know that the ARB will be discussing it on Thursday during their meeting. So those are my concerns, and that's topic number 1. Topic number 2 is your resolution 1430. To schedule a public hearing in January, I think on the 20th, to amend UR map SP1-2. That is a very troublesome proposed modification to the UR map. It's a proposed modification that you have not yet discussed in a work session. And just like there was another situation where the planning board put forward to you a proposed modification which partially involved town-owned land and density reduction being frustrated, etc. You chose in that instance, and that was in a different part of the Springs, you announced that you were going to not schedule the public hearing until you had an opportunity to discuss the matter at a work session, which has not yet occurred. So I'm going to suggest and request that this possible modification of the UR map SP1-2, which affects 17 Hawthorne Street, which is adjacent to the Norfolk Crandall Woodlands, which will, I assure you, I've already heard it, upset numerous people, and you know how vociferous and determined that group is. The proposal is to allow one existing 14,000 square foot UR map parcel to be cut in 2, and to allow a builder to buy from a land speculator a 10,000 square foot portion and to build as much house as he possibly can. And for anyone that doesn't realize what you allow on a 10,000 square foot lot, which by the way is located, as we all should know, in a 20,000 minimum square foot lot area under zoning, what is allowable on a 10,000 square foot lot is 2,000 square feet for the principal structure above ground, plus you could put another 2,000 square foot of lower level below, and 5,000 total lot coverage to include all impervious surfaces and accessory structures, and 0 clearing restrictions on a 10,000 square foot lot. So the proposal to divide in two one existing 14,000 square foot lot, 4,000 of which was purchased by the town in, I believe it was 2006, with the intent and design to reduce density, to eliminate one building lot, will now be frustrated if you go ahead and pursue this matter. I strongly suggest that there's a need to discuss it in a work session, to allow people to participate who are interested and affected to participate. And by the way, if you don't know this, when the matter was heard by the planning board, no public discussion was allowed, none whatsoever. No notice to neighbors is provided as part of the process of amending or proposing to amend a UR map, current UR map. So no neighbors knew about it. The only one who learned about it happened to be myself, and I did submit a letter, which they say they read. They just ignored it, but they say they read it. And there really are troublesome matters involving this proposed creation of a 10,000 square foot building lot cut out of a 14,000 square foot UR existing lot, of which the town already owns 4,000 square feet, designed to preserve open space and to eliminate a building lot so as to reduce density. So I ask you, please, not to adopt tonight 1430 and instead to schedule the matter for a work session. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, David. Enjoy the holidays. We have any other callers?
Yes, we do. Moving on to the next caller. Hello, caller ending 6326. You're on the air. Hello.
Yes, hi, this is Cheryl Biscardi on Fort Palm Boulevard, and I support that becoming a preserve, the woodlands, and I hope that's not true, what this man just said. And that's it.
Thank you for calling, Cheryl. Enjoy the holidays.
Okay, moving on to next caller. Hello, caller ending 2450. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello, good morning. This is Stephanie Ippolito. I just wanted to say two things, reiterating what has already been said. One, thank you for the work on the cell tower and the negotiations with the Girl Scouts. And second, I would like to support and think it's a great idea to preserve the Norfolk Crandall Woodlands as part of the preservation land of East Hampton. Have a great holiday.
Thank you. You too, Cheryl. Or Stephanie, I'm sorry.
Stephanie. That's okay.
Sorry.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Callers mixed up here.
Okay, moving on to next caller. Hello, caller ending 8931. You were on the air. Hello.
Yes, good morning. My name is Bill Strawn. I live on Fort Pond Boulevard, and I'm simply calling to support, including the Crandall Norfolk Woodlands in the Nature Preserve Act, Town Nature Preserve. And thank you very much for pursuing all alternatives, and also wish everyone a wonderful 2022.
Thanks so much, Bill. We appreciate you calling.
All right.
And your well wishes. Same to you and yours.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, unmuting. We had that caller earlier. Hello, caller ending 1146. Are you ready to comment?
I am here. Hello.
Hello. Are you ready to comment?
Yes, I am.
Right.
Good morning. My name is Michael Now. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Michael, what's your last name?
The last name is Now.
Now? Thank you.
Yes, I'm a resident of Springs, and I live next to the Crandall Norfolk Woodlands. I'd like to say that I, too, support including the woodlands and to try to make it a town nature preserve. I think we need more open spaces. We're rapidly losing open space out in, especially in East Hampton, and I just think that we need more open space than less. And it's just a wonderful part of our neighborhood up here. And I'd also like to say thank you for the board's work with working on a better solution for the cell phone tower. We appreciate you listening to us, and hopefully that's going to work out for everybody. And just wanted to say happy holidays to everybody.
Thanks, Michael. We appreciate you, Carl, and appreciate, the community letting us know how they feel about this piece of property. And best to you and yours in the holiday season.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And thanks to all my neighbors. They really love the area. It's just proved to me that people still do love their neighborhood and its surroundings. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, moving on to next caller. Let's make sure. All right. Hello, caller ending 1131. You are on the air. Hello.
Hi, this is Lisa Legalia, and just wanted to address the board about a few things. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for your efforts with the Girl Scouts. I hope that that's going to be a final vote in. We really appreciate you hearing us. And secondly, I am wanting to express my support for making Crandall Norfolk Woodlands a nature preserve. It's a very special piece of land, as you probably have heard us all in the past and today. So hopefully we can move forward with making this a nature preserve. And Kathy McCormick will be leading that effort, and we all support her on this call. And I wanted to wish you all happy holidays.
Thanks so much for calling, Lisa. We appreciate you. And happy holidays as well.
Unmuting next caller. Hello, caller ending 2296. You're on the air. Hello.
Oh, hi. It's Gina Bradley over on 61 Lincoln Avenue. And I just want to say I'm super excited that we are going to explore the Girl Scouts, and super grateful that we went through a nice process. And I'm just really supporting the Crandall, including the Crandall Norfolk Woodlands, into the town's nature preserve, mostly because it's going to really help protect our water, and it's going to keep it from being a buildable lot, which is going to make all of our wells potentially better. So thank you guys so much. From a nature, just from a nature perspective, I'm really happy.
Great. Thanks for calling in. You too, Gina. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, unmuting next caller. Hello, caller ending 7567. You're on the air. Hello.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's Joe Sigilia, and I live in the Springs, just down the street from the Crandall Norfolk Woodlands. And like many other of my neighbors, I'm calling today to support Kathy McCormick's nomination of the Woodlands to be included in the town's nature preserve. I believe every member of the board has already publicly acknowledged that the Woodlands have been continuously used as a preserve for more than 40 years. And making an official determination would give Peter and Kathy the opportunity to uphold your campaign promises to preserve open space in the town. David, as the liaison for the Nature Preserve Committee, has frequently said that he understands the importance of preserving open space. Sylvia has recently noted that during a work session about Buckskill Road, and incoming Councilwoman Kate Rogers, as we all know, is committed to preserving our local environment, and I'm sure she would also be supportive of such a move. In addition, as we've all discussed previously, the Woodlands are recognized already as open recreational space on every town map, including the old filed map, the open space map, and the protected land map. Given all these factors, under the state's public trust doctrine, if the town doesn't take the opportunity to dedicate the Woodlands as a preserve in the near future, a court would clearly do so. The board's approval of the Woodlands as a preserve would be consistent with your recent actions to acquire privately owned land to preserve open space on Buckskill Road, for example, at the cost of millions of dollars. But in this case, the town could create an approximately 7-acre preserve essentially for free. We look forward to working with the board early in the new year to preserve this important open space in a neighborhood that desperately needs one. Thank you all for your consideration, and have a happy holiday and a happy new year.
Thanks for calling in, Joe, and wishing you and yours a happy holiday as well.
Okay. Moving on to next caller. We have a few other callers, yes.
Okay.
Hello, caller ending 6412. You're on the air.
Hi, Town Board. It's Rona Klopman in Amagansett. Happy holidays to everybody. And I'm calling for two reasons. One, I was on the Energy Sustainability Committee meeting yesterday, and I asked Sylvia who was in charge of lighting for the town, and her statement to me was no one. So I'm a little concerned because of all the lighting issues that have to be taken care of by the town board, that you don't have an engineer, you don't have anybody in charge of lighting, and you're going to be dealing with a company that sells lighting. So I'm not sure how the town board is going to address that, because in Amagansett, we have a lot of lighting issues. That's number one.
Well,
I'd
Rona,
like to comment.
before you move on, Rona, before you move on, let me just say that we do have engineers involved with lighting, and we have professional electricians on staff for the town as well. So I'm not quite sure how you got that impression. But
Rona, yeah, I think you misunderstood what I said. I said we do not have one person that's in charge of lighting. We have several people that are in charge of lighting, that work with natural resources, that work with buildings and grounds. And so we've got a lot of people involved in lighting. Lauren Steinberg, as you know, just left for a different position with the state. And she was in charge. And again, during the meeting, I again said who was going to be in charge, according to Kim Shaw from Natural Resources, taking Lauren's place. So that would mean that she would help with the lighting. But there are many people involved in lighting, and I never said there was no one involved in lighting.
Sylvia, I disagree with you. It's a taped meeting, and you can go back to the tape when I asked the question. You didn't answer me, but I'm not going to argue.
Did you have another topic?
I'm not going to argue.
Thank you.
Yes.
You have another topic you want to bring up?
I called to really wish you all well for the holiday, and to thank in particular Jeff Bragman for a wonderful 4 years of being on that board and being very astute, questioning, smart, and helping the community in many ways. And I just want to thank him because I think he's done an outstanding job, and I know he lives in town, and hope he will keep involved. So thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you for calling, Rona, and you take care and be well.
Thank you. You too. Have a happy holiday.
Mr. Supervisor, we had one person who called back after they called. I just want to go unmute them and make sure that we're not missing anything.
Thank you.
Hello, caller ending 1131. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I just got cut off. I wanted to call back in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At this moment, we have no one else who is on the line. We had a few people that called in but then decided to hang up. I don't know why, but I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay, so we have no other callers on the line. At this point, we'll move on to our topic for discussion today, which is the draft airport re-envisioning public engagement report. And we have Lisa LaCourie from Fine Arts and Sciences, and do we have Peter Flinker joining us as well?
We do. Is he in the waiting room?
Yes, he is, and he's being added in right now.
Wonderful.
Peter, if you don't mind, I'd like to say a word or two before they begin, if that's all right, as the airport liaison.
Yeah, sure. Of course, Jeff. Go ahead.
I'm just pleased that we're at this point with another version of the draft report. It's based on a lot of fact-finding presentations, a lot of listening sessions, a number of small group workout sessions, and comments that came in on a dedicated email that was accessible to all the town board members. And the combination of those efforts produced really an extraordinary number of comments and communications from members of the public about the future of the airport. And, I did comments that helped them and will help us understand their positions, whether they ranged from the continuing the status quo or closing the airport. We have a lot of data now to absorb that will help us make a decision. I just wanted to say it's something that we've said before, that it wasn't a poll or a vote. It really is designed to create a shared understanding and to facilitate discussion and eventually our decision making. And as liaison, I'm happy that I was able to be a part of creating it. Much credit belongs to our excellent consultants, particularly Lisa and Peter Flinker, two real pros. Lisa is a 15-year veteran in the planning department, knows as much about East Hampton and zoning and planning as anybody I know, and has exercised, terrific judgment during the process. Peter Flinker is a very gifted individual. He has the gift, as I've said before, of wading into conflict and making things better. Peter always seems to find a way to soothe people and elicit from them further explanations of their positions in a way that really moves the discussion forward. It's very, very impressive team, Dodson and Flinker and Lisa LaCourie. And it's a cliche at this point, but as far as I'm concerned, they are a dream team. And I wanted to also mention a quick word about our Cooley lawyers, who are not only experts in aviation law, the nuts and bolts, but I think more importantly are thoughtful counselors at law. That's everybody refers to lawyers as attorneys at law, but there's another aspect of being a lawyer, and that is providing wise, thoughtful counsel. And the Cooley firm helped us in structuring this process, and I'm really pleased at the results. We were able to lay a lot of facts on the table and put us in a position to really make bold decisions. So much credit to our team, Lisa, Dodson and Flinker, and Cooley. And with that, I turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Jeff. And now that we all have extremely high expectations for this report, Lisa, let's on with it.
You can only go down from there.
Pressure, that's right.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to set the bar, so it's still a draft report. It's still
we agree that we have excellent consultants, and so we look forward to the presentation. So without any further ado, please.
Well, I'll just add to that, since it's kind of end of year good feelings. I haven't been a full-time resident of East Hampton since my son was born, but I've been a consultant all throughout the country, really. And whenever I tell people that I've worked in East Hampton, I was the planning director, they all there's a hush, and they all want to know what happened. How does East Hampton do it? And really, what's East Hampton doing next? Whether it's energy sustainability or planning, or figuring out some way. Whenever you talk about secret, go to a secret workshop. East Hampton is setting the way, the example for that. And I think this airport, this whole figuring out what to do with the airport and the re-envisioning is also a first. And it will be precedent setting, I'm sure. So thank you all for your care. Jeff, it's been a delight working with you as the liaison, and I'm sure we'll still, work together in the future in some capacity or another, and continue working with the rest of the board. So without any further ado, I'm here with my colleague, Peter of Dodson and Flinker. And as already mentioned, today's presentation is an update of the presentation we made back in October regarding the public engagement portion of the re-envisioning process that you're going through for the airport. And we have put together a draft report, and now here is a draft PowerPoint. But the report, I believe it's been posted on the town website. If not, it should get up right away. It is fairly simple in that it's got an introduction and background. It's got a section on the public workshops, a section on the written comments, comments, oral comments, key positions and underlying issues, and then a whole bunch of appendices with summaries of the written comments or the work session, the workshop comments, the oral comments that were submitted during your work sessions, position by residence or affiliation, and then like some of the other supporting documentation. Next slide, please. So in the town board work sessions, there were 102 speakers that offered their opinions starting in May and going through November, the end of November. We stopped at December 1st. The workshops, which were held during a 2-week period of time in September, there were 302 participants in the small group meetings, and then emails and letters, which I went right up to December. There were 617 emails and letters submitted, all told 121 engagements, not including town board members, press, and other observers. And again, in my experience with the town, I don't know that there's been any other single project that has had so much public participation and assessment. Next slide, please. So again, going back to the speakers, these were during these 8 town board work sessions, during which time you were getting a presentation by professional consultants in the environmental resources, economic analyses, land use and zoning, airport planning and operations and diversion. So those were the dates, and those were the ones where public comments were recorded and summarized as part of this process. Next slide, please. And so during those public meetings, there were 27 speakers from East Hampton hamlets. An additional 34 people spoke representing organizations and affiliations, including AMAC and the aviation industry and commercial pilots and Coalition to Transform East Hampton Airport and the East Hampton Community Alliance, East Hampton Aviation Association, East Hampton Energy Sustainability Committee, East Hampton Business Owners, Montauk United, National Business Aviation Association, Northwest Alliance, Noyak Civic, Say No to KHTO, elected officials, Southold Aircraft and Noise Committee. There were 28 people speaking from other places of residence, including the North Fork and North Sea and New York City Orient. That's part of the North Fork anyway. Riverhead, Sag Harbor, and out of state. 13 were not provided. Next slide, please. So out of the 617 written comments, both emailed and mailed, 37 wrote more than once and sometimes more than twice. There were 200 from East Hampton, including East Hampton Village, with most of them, 233 from East Hampton, which included East Hampton Village. Now, some of the times people just wrote that they were from East Hampton. They may have been from one of the other hamlets, but they didn't so identify themselves. So I do think that number 233 is, also reflects people from Amagansett and Montauk Springs, whatever. There were also 112 from Southampton town, including Sag Harbor. I realized that Sag Harbor is divided between the two towns, but they all just got lumped into that number over there. 29 from the North Fork and Shelter Island, 7 from New York City. An additional, quite a large number from affiliations, including airport users, aviation industry, local pilots, aviation association, East Hampton business owners, CCOM, Coalition to Transform East Hampton Airports, Noyak Civic, East Hampton Aviation Association, East Hampton Community Alliance. This is not inclusive. Also, we have the CAC from Montauk, the CAC from Wainscott, and others. Next, please. So in terms of the hamlets, the written comment summary, Amagansett, the range was from closing the airport to keep it open but ban commercial, keep open and mitigate noise. East Hampton, the range was close the airport, keep open but close to jets and large planes, keep open and work out a solution together, bring everyone to the table. Montauk, the range was it was mostly concerned with the impacts from diversion. Transferring the problem to Montauk is not a solution. Montauk infrastructure infrastructure is already stressed. The airport is overburdened already. Safety concerns and that an EIS is required. More study is needed. Don't close East Hampton Airport. Involve Montauk stakeholders in the process. Springs Range was closed due to noise, pollution, quality of life concerns. Retain as an important economic and transportation infrastructure. Wainscott, the range was closed due to public safety, noise, air pollution, water pollution, greenhouse gas, and I can't read the bottom of my screen.
Pollution, environmental stewardship concerns, quality of life concerns, retain as an economic driver.
Thank you very much. Next slide. Okay, so in terms of affiliation, the airport users keep the airport open. The airport contributes to the economic and transportation infrastructure, mitigate noise. Local pilots requested that you keep the airport open, but impose noise and other restrictions. Aviation Association and businesses keep airport open, essential for the economy and jobs, options to mitigate noise. Many groups impacted by the airport say no to KHTO, for example, that documented unbearable impacts to the environment, quality of life, and climate, and close the airport and repurpose for all. The Wainscott CAC, full closure or minimum ban helicopters, jets, seaplanes, stop the sale of avgas if keep open for recreation, work with Montauk Airport to mitigate potential impacts. Northwest Alliance Airport is an atrocious attack on wildlife and people in the area who work so hard to preserve all of that open space, close the airport. CCOM requested a comprehensive, thorough environmental review being needed. Montauk United, closing East Hampton will just transfer the problems to Montauk. Montauk is already stressed. Noyak Civic participated in the process for decades. Nothing works. Close the airport now. Friends of Long Pond Greenbelt. The path violates FAA guidelines to protect wildlife. Change the route. What I don't have in here is some of the comments from the Montauk CAC, and they kind of sent a series of resolutions, some asking to be more involved in the process and to have some public meetings in person in Montauk. In September, their resolution was that in reaching any conclusions regarding where aircraft is diverted from closure of the East Hampton Airport, the town board should collect and consider real-world evidence from airport users, including bookers such as Blade pilots and travelers. And again, they were asking for a meeting in public before anything happened. There's a lot more in the written report, but I just wanted to highlight some of the user groups and affiliations in the town. Next slide.
Okay. I guess I'm going to talk about the public workshops, which, as you know, in addition to the opportunities to speak before the board and write in, we held 4 public workshops in September. In the end, we had 302 total participants, which we broke into 40 groups over 4 nights, which was, by my calculations, something like between 50 and 60 hours of conversations. And among those 302, there were 271 unique participants, not counting you and board members and others who attended to listen in. The purpose of these workshops, as you recall, was not just to listen to people, but also to advance a shared understanding of the facts surrounding the airport, to give people an opportunity to comment on those facts and see what more was needed. We really wanted to give ample opportunities for all stakeholders to speak. And we really organized that discussion about identifying key issues of concern, particularly, is the status quo acceptable? Would a modified or closed airport be preferable? And what modification should be made, if any? I think unusual in my experience, every comment was recorded and was put into spreadsheets, which go on for many pages, as you see in the appendices to the report. So we really tried to capture the breadth of input that was brought to the workshops. Out of the 271 people who came to the workshops, 238 were local residents, 174 from East Hampton, 29 from Southampton, and a number of others from surrounding villages. There were also 14 pilots who lived locally and 16 other people who sort of identified as connected to the aviation industry, some of whom lived locally and some from away. Again, we asked each of the 40 groups 4 questions. What's your connection on the airport? Sort of trying to identify the facts of how they're connected and how it affects them. Is the status quo acceptable? Which was sort of getting at opinions. What needs to change or stay the same? Should we modify operations or close the airport, etc.? Really looking at solutions. And then the final one was, how do we balance the needs of individuals? Really trying to get people away from their individual positions and think about what would be the best way for your individual needs to be balanced with those of other people. And I think this was very successful in that we got people to really think about and express, I know a lot of people were already thinking about it, to express, how they thought their position affected other people and what could we do to find compromise. That said, about 80% of people said the status quo was not acceptable. A few said it was acceptable, and then a sizable group of 15% said yes and no. A lot of those were people from Montauk in particular who recognized that the status quo wasn't working for many of their neighbors closer to the airport, but were very afraid of the impacts. Sorry, just everything went blank. Of the airport neighbors, 20% supports closing of the airport, and basically assuming the restrictions can't really be made to be permanent. They want to explore other uses that could benefit the town, and to ban helicopters, and other people saying all helicopters and jets. For Montauk residents, as I said, their biggest concern was that the airport should not close if it's going to divert traffic to Montauk. And for those that thought some restrictions should be in place, they really want to see those happen regionally, make sure they work for both airports. And a lot of people raised the issue that this really could be a regional system of rationing the number of landings for all the airports, not just in East Hampton, but perhaps for other neighboring airports as well. For professional aviators and those in the aviation community, really emphasized the airport is an important community resource, an economic driver. They had a lot of thoughts about how to upgrade control systems, keeping the tower open more, and that would help to implement better oversight of routes and basically the way people arrive at the airport and fly over the adjoining neighborhoods. A lot of interest in quieter planes and electric aircraft that are coming soon, according to many participants. And they also supported the idea of rationing the landings, especially for the commercial shuttles. For local pilots, I think a larger percentage of which were sort of hobbyists and part-time pilots, they definitely support modifying operations to reduce helicopter and jet traffic. Many would be happy to eliminate all commercial traffic. And there's a suggestion that landing fees could be based on relative size and noise levels to limit the use by larger and noisier aircraft. And in any case, the town should work with pilots to implement controls. So some ideas for balancing and potential solutions to the issues. A lot of people raised sort of physical changes to the airport, such as reducing the length of the runway, or eliminating some of the runways, or eliminating fueling at the airport. A lot of people suggested restricting aircraft, basically limiting it to recreational and emergency use, or restricting it to local pilots or local landowners. And then there was a variety of ideas of banning helicopters, jets, seaplanes, and drones outright, or to focus on banning the noisiest aircraft, perhaps focusing on turbine aircraft, whether jets or helicopters, and generally support for returning the airport to what it was before, when it was primarily used by small prop planes. Other people suggested restricting activities by imposing curfews, or limiting the number of aircraft landings per hour or per year, to limit the noise levels, to mandate minimum altitudes, to regulate routes, and partly doing that by expanding the hours of operation of the control tower, to change the classification of the airport in conjunction with longer hours of the control tower, and to enforce the regulations in a more meaningful and lasting way. And I think finally, the idea of establishing a fee system in our rationing was brought up by a number of people, devising a fee structure that would incentivize quieter aircraft, have some kind of a chit system to allocate number of flights, and to develop a point system to assess penalties for violators of some of those rules and rationing schemes. And then I think one of the things we heard was sort of the need to balance different needs across social and economic and geographic divides. I think an undercurrent in a lot of the conversation was that, the airport serves a relatively limited percentage of the population, the citizens of East Hampton. And for many of them, there's no compromise possible. That if you leave it open, it's a slippery slope that things are just, in some point in the future, going to get worse again. They also think, many people raise that because it's only serving a proverbial 1%, that it's really just not, there's no equitable solution to keep it open, and that the community should take precedence over a few individuals. A lot of people raised the need to work with all stakeholders, including Montauk and the neighboring towns, to create a regional solution, possibly considering more direct control of the Montauk Airport, perhaps through town purchase, working with the FAA to identify the controls. And then a number of people raised the issue of, do we need the airport? Can we improve other forms of transit, including the train, the bus, and electric vehicles, to provide an alternative that would reduce the demand? So finally, what we did in the report, which you'll see in some detail, is try to clarify the key positions. And there were 4 of them, which Lisa and I will present. And we tried to sort of state the position and also sort of talk about the underlying issues and concerns beneath each of those positions. And the idea being that if we can look for the alignment of underlying interests across different groups, we can find the best compromise, the best solution, again, for balancing the needs of all of those different interest groups. So the first of the 4 positions was really, let's maintain the status quo and perhaps institute modest mitigation measures. I think for this position, a lot of people mentioned the importance of the airport as an economic engine and as critical infrastructure for mobility and recreation for everyone in the town. A lot of people pointed out the importance of the airport as a resource for medical emergencies and potentially for natural disasters. And then the suggestion was that enhanced regulation and emerging technologies, including electrified airplanes, can provide a needed mitigation of noise and other impacts without closing the airport. The second major position was the complete opposite, which is close the airport. And a lot of the underlying reasons were concerns about impacts on people's health and quality of life, including the sort of growing volume and frequency of traffic and the resulting noise pollution, concern about health impacts, drinking water, safety, quality of life, concern that this is a disproportionate impact on residents and that it's inconsistent with the town's stated positions on energy and sustainability. And then there's the impact on property values that a lot of people raised. And then a thought that despite the fact the airport is a very active contributor to life in the town, it's perhaps not a major driver of the economy, and therefore wouldn't, if it was closed, wouldn't affect the overall economy that much. And then again, the idea of investing in alternative transportation to limit the demand for the airport. So Lisa, you're going to talk about the other 2?
Okay, thank you, Peter. So the next position was to convert the airport to a smaller recreational facility or otherwise limit commercial aircrafts or helicopters, seaplanes, and jets. So this is a pretty large category, right? So it was hard to sift out separate categories for all of this. So we lumped them together because the reasons were somewhat similar, although what people were offering was different. So again, that the increased volume and frequency of airport traffic continues to grow. So you need to do something, and you need to address the noise pollution, the health impacts, the drinking water impacts, the safety concerns with aircraft having almost near misses as people were perceiving it over their homes, the quality of life impacts, the disproportionate impact on residents in the flight paths. Again, this is the same as what Peter was just talking about, the inconsistency with the town's stated position on energy and sustainability, the impact on property values, and that it's not perceived to be a major driver of the economy, or that there are alternative transportation that should be invested in that could reduce the need for the airport. Is there one more? I can't see it. I'm sorry.
Just the thought that mitigation measures can help a recreational airport fit in better.
Right. Yes, especially with new technology being stated to be on the horizon in a couple of years. And then the fourth position was prevent diversion to Montauk. So as Peter stated earlier, a lot of the Montauk residents weren't saying close the airport or keep the airport open or whatever. They were just, whatever it is that you do not, or make sure to not divert whatever it is that's not going to go to East Hampton Airport, have it all go to Montauk, that transferring the problems is no solution. You would still have the air quality issues, you would have noise issues, you would have all the things, and Montauk is part of the town, and Montauk Airport is too small and it can't easily be expanded due to the physical constraints with surrounding water bodies. The roads and other infrastructure in Montauk are already over capacity. The airport is an environmentally fragile area, and some of that opinion was the town should purchase the Montauk Airport or negotiate permanent limits before taking any action on the East Hampton Airport. Next slide. So the summary report provides a description and an assessment of all of, a little bit more detail than what we've been able to give you today, of the underlying interests of the stakeholders and all sides of the issue, a description of the key issues and opportunities that need to be addressed, and discussion of the shared fact-finding process with recommendations for further study. And I think we're done. Yep.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions or comments for our consultants regarding the report?
The only comment I wanted to make is that, and I've heard this from some folks, I know in the, and maybe it's on page 10, I think. Actually, no, I'm looking at the report. I guess it's page 9. You use percentages, like when you talk about, here fully 80% of workshop participants, and then you go later at about 20% of those for whom the status quo is unacceptable. There was just some concern that since this is more qualitative research than quantitative research, that, and I know you're trying to show the significance of people's positions, but there was some confusion or concern that you were using percentages, that it looked like you were, using it statistically as opposed to just, 8 out of 10, trying to make a point that way. So they just, were expressing some caution on, how we present the data.
Thank you, Kathy. We'll go over and adjust that and make that more clear.
I'm hoping we're going to be able to use, the information because it's, I printed everything out to read, and it's, it's about an inch thick, to help us, craft the problem statement so that for our next step, we can take a look at, how we modify operations at the airport that the community can accept. And there's a lot of, good stuff in here that's going to help us do that. So thank you.
So I would completely agree with what Kathy just said, specifically your third paragraph on page 3, where you're talking about the importance, the purpose, not to identify the right answer, but to design to identify the range positions regarding it from the public. That's very important to know in this as we move forward. On page 6, I wouldn't mind seeing you move a very simple thing, the Village of East Hampton, up to become East Hampton residents, because they are East Hampton residents. Sag Harbor, as you mentioned, could cross over between both of them. I also think that we should highly try to outreach to the public, through airport liaison or such, that this document right now is broken out into very obtainable and readable portions. It makes sense of the thousands of emails that we have received and comments that we have received, and it makes sense of it in a very logical, easy way to decipher. And for that, I applaud both Lisa and Peter for putting that forward. I thank you for adding a lot of the comments, particularly for the Montauk CAC and others that we requested also in there. But the way that you've outlined this draft right now, it makes it very easy to understand the issues from all sides. And as I read it, it read very easily, and I hope the rest of the public has a chance to do so also. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that I think the public engagement process has been very effective in highlighting the various issues and attributes of the airport and concerns that members of the public have, regardless of where they sit on the spectrum: close, keep the airport open, modify the airport. And that's been extremely helpful. I do think that after a decade now on the town board, and I'm not alone in that several other members have served as long or nearly as long, we've heard from the general public across the broad spectrum. And this sort of culminates what we've been hearing for many years in a document that is accessible to anyone to take a look at. I think it's pretty comprehensive in that way. And I really appreciate the process that we went through to get to this stage. I think it's been effective. It's very similar to the process we went through with public engagement on the Hamlet studies. And I think you've both helped us, guide that process in a way that's been constructive on what is and has been very controversial and sometimes combative topic of discussion. And so to have a calmer, more reasoned and rational, maybe less emotional engagement with the public over this very important issue has been very helpful. So those are my comments about it.
Yeah, I just want to add that, as always, it's a delight working with Lisa and Peter. And, thank you again for all the work. And I know at the beginning you said this may be the most things that you've gotten together. I don't know. I think the Hamlet studies, 4 years into the Hamlet studies and all 5 Hamlets was pretty daunting. And again, thank you for that. And for this is sort of getting us to a position that when decisions are made, we'll be able to back up those decisions with information that you've put together here. And I think that's important for the community to hear. And it was important for them to hear all different sides of the issue. Because I think if you live in one section of town or another, you don't always recall and remember what might be affecting another section of town. So this really puts it all together. It reads somewhat like a novel as you go through it, because you hear different stories. And that's the point, was to hear different stories. And so I really thank you for that. And this is not the end. There's more to come.
No, not by any means the end.
Hopefully there's a happy ending somewhere.
Thank you.
Or an equally unhappy ending to some degree. As we move forward to address the issues, not everyone will be happy. And they say generally that in a situation like this, if everybody's somewhat unhappy, then That's probably the best compromise you can reach. But we are going to continue the public engagement moving forward as we decide a path forward, and we want to be hearing from the public as part of that process as well. And we'll be very active in the new year on this topic.
I just want to add that I think it's exactly what we needed. I think you delivered a decision-making document that will help our decision-making. And it did take a pretty good amount of time. It took 7 months. So there's been a lot of input, and you produced a very solid record or a solid inventory of comments. And I do think that you've helped us toward a shared understanding of what's important and what's less important as we move forward. And the thing that really struck me was the management of the small group breakout sessions, because there was a conscious structure that permitted people with differing points of view to fully state what was on their mind and even come back and answer other people. And in the sessions that I saw, it was always civil, always well managed, and everyone got a say right up to the end when the facilitators were summarizing. If there were objections, I was watching at one point when someone got a little vociferous with Peter and said, "I don't agree that your facilitator is telling the truth." And I thought, oh, here we go. And here we didn't go, because Peter just said, we'll give you an opportunity to comment on the summary that the facilitators are giving. And he did. And it sort of lowered the temperature in the room. And really very few other comments criticized the facilitators' summations, because they made every effort to be fair and good reporters, not vote takers, not swaying one way or another, not being swayed. So I thought it was a very impressive way to handle controversy in a community. I'm more used to, as a lawyer, seeing people duke it out, and try to win on points. And there was no winning on points here. There was just listening. And I thought that was remarkably effective, and I was very impressed by it.
Okay.
Any other comments?
And I just asked if Lisa and Peter could send the PowerPoint around so that we can post that as well. We've got the full report, obviously in draft form on the website, but it would be great to also have the PowerPoint that you presented today.
And we'll go back and make those adjustments as you've suggested to this report. But I just want to clarify, I don't think it would be helpful to accept any more public comments on this document now. I mean, meaning, somebody else submitted another comment, whatever. This stands on its own, comments received up until December 1st.
Yeah, I agree with that, Lisa. And that's not to say there's not further comment that we can take from the public, and we certainly will get more comment from the public, more comments, and we'll take those as they come.
Could you add that to the title then? So where maybe it states on the cover that it's, through December 1st, so that people know when they pick it up?
Good idea.
Anything else for our consultants before we move on? Well, just want to say thank you, and you've lived up to the expectation in the meeting. And we wish you both very happy holiday season, and we'll be in touch with you soon. So
thank you very much. Same to you.
Thank you. That brings us up to liaison reports.
Sure. We wanted to start with human services. I know, Peter, I'm sure you're going to be giving a COVID report and update when it's your turn. But I just wanted to talk about senior services for a minute. So that beginning today, the town has suspended in-person senior services. We're looking at this suspension right now for the next 4 weeks through Friday, January 14th. So these in-person services include the senior nutrition program in both East Hampton and Montauk, senior activities that we hold at both centers, such as meditation, yoga, and bingo. And we're also suspending for now the in-home services. The town will continue to transport seniors to doctor's appointments. When we reached out to the county, Diane Patrizio, our Director of Human Services, spoke about how we could still, for those seniors that are looking for nutritious meals, we really were averaging about, in East Hampton anyway, about 40 seniors a day. That number had gone down to 25. And when we called seniors this morning and told them that we were going to be suspending for the next 4 weeks, they said that they had expected the call, and many were already considering staying home because of the high positivity rate on Long Island and in East Hampton. So the county recommended that we go with grab and go meals, as we're not approved to deliver meals because we're not in a COVID emergency. So the senior center will move forward with grab and go meals. Some will will be frozen. Others they can probably eat that day. So that's moving forward. The South Fork Behavioral Health Initiative, we had our annual meeting that was called by Assemblyman Fred Thiel and State Senator Anthony Palumbo, and about 40 people attended. It on the line in the Zoom were Bob Chalner and Robert Ross and other folks from Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, the folks from Family Service League, both across Long Island and for the town of East Hampton, local school districts, and then human services personnel from East Hampton and Southampton. As everybody recalls, we started this program about 7 years ago to address, our adolescents being in such distress and the lack of mental health services here in East Hampton. This program now has been so successful that it has been modeled on and replicated on the North Fork. And each year the state contributes $350,000, $175,000 for the South Fork program, and $175,000 for the North Fork program. And the town contributes a grant of $27,500. So the meeting, the purpose of the meeting was to review and go over what 2021 and to talk about plans for 2022. And we heard from school administrators from 3 school districts across the East End. And basically they all had the same, thing to say. Well, our kids were already in distress pre-COVID. Local officials are reporting that our children are experiencing severe adverse impacts related to COVID that are, as one school administrator put it, scary to say the least. They're seeing high levels of anxiety, difficulties with students' abilities to cope, behavioral issues. There's a rise in suspensions and altercations, challenges getting the kids to come back to the school setting, a lack of confidence and fear. And as I said, this was reiterated by all of the administrators. Family Service League reported that they've seen a rise in trauma and suicidal ideation from our youth. And Carol McGee, who manages the East Hampton Clinic, said that when they looked at 2020 versus 2021, they saw a 113% increase in new referrals, 175% increase in new clients per month on average, and a 200% increase in the total number of units of service, which is the sessions attended by clients. And that this level of trauma is not just among our high school student population, but it's being seen in middle school and elementary students as well.
So Kathy, is there like a resource number, crisis hotline, or
so
the public should know about if they find themselves or family members in that situation?
Absolutely. If they go on the town website under the Human Services Department, there's a list of numbers where folks can call if they need help with translation. They can call Human Services, and Liliana can help make the connection with Family Service League. But we're really fortunate that this program has been so successful. And so now we're planning for 2021 and how we can continue to improve it and get kids seen when they need to get seen. And we still have the program in East Hampton High School where Family Service League is there, and there's a social worker that is trained to work with adolescents, and that's been very successful. So, you know, I'm sure for those parents that are listening in or grandparents, you know, they're acutely aware of how challenging, you know, this is, and just want folks to know that the resources are there, and that they should, you know, reach out to the schools. They should, you know, reach out to Family Service League if need be. I'm going to have a couple of resolutions on for today. One is to adopt the changes to the ethics code per the public hearing we held on December 2nd. And the second, which we got a number of phone calls about, was to approve the agreement with American Tower for the installation of the town's emergency communications equipment on a permanent communications tower located at 103 Flaggy Hole Road in Springs, which is better known as Camp Blue Bay, and a site owned by the Nassau County Girl Scouts. We've been working on this agreement since the summer. The town would make a one-time capital contribution of $150,000. There would be no monthly fee. The term would be for 30 years with 3 10-year renewal options, and the town's emergency communications equipment would be installed at the highest elevation on the tower. And then we had a presentation at our work session on December 7th by Eddie Schnell, where we discussed the need for temporary emergency communications coverage in Springs. We had originally said we needed to know by the end of the year as to where we should locate that. You know, it's a trailer with a lattice tower on it. It's 88 feet tall. Eddie now says we need to know by the middle of January. So we could discuss it today, or we could, you know, wait till the beginning of the new year. I did send an email out to the Spring CAC to see if they wanted to express their preference for the siting of the 88-foot tower. We remember there were 3 potential sites: Maidstone Park by the ball fields, behind the Springs Library, and in the parking lot on Gann Road. And only 7 members of the Spring CAC responded. 4 supported Gann Road, 2 Maidstone Park, and 1 the Springs Library. So we will need to make a decision on that shortly. And then lastly, I just wanted to say, since this is the last meeting of the year, you know, as 2021 comes to an end, and we engage responsibly in the celebrations of Christmas and Kwanzaa and New Year's, may we remember to be kind to ourselves and others, and to share our blessings with those that are still struggling. And may the joy of the holiday season fill our lives and homes with peace, love, and good health. And I want to just wish happy holidays to my colleagues on the town board, to our dedicated town staff, and to members of our beautiful community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. David, do you have a liaison report for us?
I do. Thank you very much. I want to let everyone know that the Marine Fisheries Relief Program application deadline is January 14th of 2022. This comes from the state. Governor Hochul announced that $5.7 million in federal funding is available. For any further information on this, please contact the DEC or go to the DEC Marine Fisheries Relief Program webpage. Also, the DEC will be holding the 2022 commercial quota distribution meeting virtually from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. on Wednesday last week. I apologize. If anyone needs to make any further information on this, please contact the DEC. I apologize, everyone. I want to let everyone know that we're continuing working with the ownership of the Rough Riders condominiums about the road improvement district in that location as far as design and our next steps forward to hopefully get to a public hearing in early 2022. We've also been working with New York State and specifically this New York State Department of Parks about the applications for the skate park review, and then also for increasing changing the IA system at the comfort station there also, and also finalizing a license agreement with the state for another 10 years for the use of the property. Last week we had a meeting. We closed, I believe, 2 weeks ago on the former Carl Fisher home at 44 Foxborough. I had a meeting with town staff on location there to secure the property, do a needs assessments of the property, met with fire marshal, buildings and grounds and such, and to prepare for any action the town might want to take. So we're moving along with that, and that the property is now secured in town hands. I want to let everyone know I'll have a couple resolutions on today. One of them is going to be a bond for $455,000 for LED street lighting. The second one is a distribution of the proceeds from the turkey trot, which I know I mentioned, which is totaling $4,773. Each of the following food pantries, Montauk, East Hampton, Springs, and East Hampton Meals on Wheels, will each be receiving $1,193.25. I want to express my deepest condolences to the family of Linda Miller. Linda Miller was a longtime employee of the town that worked in the town councilman's offices for years. She was on prayer chains at church, and I want to express my deepest condolences to her family also. Linda helped me many a times when I was a young gentleman in town, walking into the old buildings that aren't here anymore. She will be dearly missed. She was a great person of the town and also just a good friend. My moment of optimism here is that today is the first day of winter. It is also the shortest day of the year. Every day from here on will get longer and longer until we reach summer 2022. So as we end this year, I want to end my last liaison report on an optimistic note, and that today is the shortest day, but tomorrow is getting longer, and my tan will be coming back again shortly. So I thank everyone for a great year. I look forward to happy health and happiness in the new year, and I wish everyone the happiest holiday seasons. Thank you again.
Thank you, David. Sylvia, you have a report for us?
I do. It's short. Energy sustainability met yesterday, and we were asked, each member listed the topics of importance to them for 2022. One of them is going to start today, actually, with an RFP that, we had I should back up. We're going to see the LED street lighting resolutions looked at today and hopefully voted on, so that we can move forward with the street lighting that NIPA had given us several work sessions on. So that'll be on as part of your packet today. There was an RFP that went out for consultants on energy and sustainability for a roadmap. And we're moving forward with that, and the committee has selected a group that will help us in that as we look to our 100% renewable, and it will include a calculator of sorts as to where we are and how East Hampton is doing in reducing its carbon footprint. Also came up with more solar on municipal buildings, expanding the ban on fossil fuel leaf blowers to more months or to an outright ban completely, and also have it moved to other landscaping equipment that it would be equipment that would be all electric. CCA, community choice aggregation, is something that we've been working on. It's moving forward. If anyone wants to call, today is the last day for public comment. Kathy Hochul is looking at a bill both in the Assembly and the state in order to allow Long Island to participate in CCA. If you need any more information, give my office a call, and we'll tell you how to propose that be allowed for Long Island, which does not participate in CCA. We'd like that opportunity to have that. Other ideas other projects came up for what they considered a bioregion. Kelp farming did pass in the state this year, and it's something that there are several members of our committee that will be working on kelp farming. and work on ways to reduce food waste and reduce pesticide use or an absolute ban on pesticide in the town of East Hampton. And that was it for energy sustainability. They look forward to a happy and more productive new year. Just to say thank you all for your participation in local government. It's very meaningful. All of you that called in today, all of you that throughout the year that call in, some of you happily calling in and others not, but we appreciate everybody's phone call. And it's important to us to hear from our community. But have a very healthy new year. Happy New Year. Please stay safe, everyone. And just make sure you hug your kids and your parents and your loved ones, and make it a good 2022.
Thank you, Sylvia. Jeff, do you have a report for us today?
Yeah, I do. The LTV board met and had a couple of interesting things going on that they discussed. One actually ties in somewhat to a difficult topic that Kathy alluded to, and that is mental health of adolescents. They're going to stage a play about a difficult subject, suicide, called Right Before I Go. And it sounds like a very compelling script taken from Suicide Notes and as a series of monologues. And they're doing auditioning for that play, and they're planning on 4 shows in May. And they're engaging the schools and trying to get as much attention to the performance as possible. Although it's a difficult subject, it's the word I hear is that it's a very compelling drama and an interesting topic to take on. So I'm pleased that they're doing it. There are also efforts ongoing, and I think they're closing in on being able to provide Spanish language translations for our town board meetings, not on the live meetings, but on the YouTube meetings. They're already underway with working on it, and they seem very optimistic that they'll be able to do that in the new year, which I think is a really great step forward for the Latino and Hispanic members of our community. They're also working, as you know, Minerva Perez is on the board now from OLA, and OLA and Minerva are working with La Prensa Local, which is a once a week Spanish news show, and they're hoping to link it up with LTV and have some coordination that will get Spanish language news out on LTV. I also met with the Housing Authority, and one interesting development is that they are in the process of setting up an election so that they can select a tenant's representative for all their housing. And the election is open to all the adult residents, and the tenant's representative would become an actual member on the Board of Commissioners. It would be an elected seat on the Board of Commissioners, and it's a requirement of law, which I think will be a good step forward in the management of the housing that they have. They are also looking to install a bicycle rack at Gansett Meadow, because apparently storage space is a little bit limited. They have, as you probably know, having been there, balconies and patios, but they think they need a larger bike rack. And I told them I'd mentioned it in the liaison report. I'd love to see if the town could help them with that. Doesn't seem like a huge project, and I can get some more detail on exactly what they're thinking of in terms of the size that they would need. But I think a bike rack there would be very much in keeping with our renewable energy goals and help out on carless driver days that we like to have every year. I also wanted to say at the end of the year and at the end of my term, a thank you to the town board for the opportunity to debate and discuss issues, which I think we all recognize is the heart of democracy and very important in keeping us on track and effective. It's always been interesting, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. I also wanted to thank all the members, all the employees in Town Hall, all the town employees who really work so hard and are often unsung heroes. They work under difficult conditions. Frequently, it's never easy dealing with the public, and they do it very well. And I've always been grateful for their help. Anytime that I've needed assistance from anybody in Town Hall, it's always been forthcoming without question, and it's always been much appreciated. And I also wanted to thank all the members of the community, all the residents that take the time to attend our meetings when we have meetings, or call into our meetings when we have remote meetings, or send us emails or letters, because their participation is absolutely essential. Politics is not a spectator sport. It's essential that people take an interest, a real interest, not just accepting the rumor of the day, or an idle comment about what's going on in government, but really digging in and seeing what's going on. They help us. They're enormously helpful in giving us ideas and keeping us on course, and telling us if they think we're doing right or doing wrong. And I have to say, I've always enjoyed it, getting the comments, even when they're hammering me or hammering the board. Sometimes it's always helpful. We have this resolution on today with American Tower, which is an example of how effective a local community can be. I think they got the town board on track, and they were able to persuade us to go back and negotiate with American Tower for what proved to be the optimal location for a tower. And it will enable us to fix the cell problems. And for me, it's a lesson that we don't have to pit neighborhood against neighborhood to solve our problems. It's easy to say, oh, well, someone's always going to get hurt when we make a land use decision. So, too bad. That's the way it's got to be. The fact is that neighborhood involvement on that issue enabled us to come up with a solution that hurt no one and was optimal for the entire town. And I like to go out thinking about that we're one town. We have issues and challenges and problems, but they are one problem, one issue, one challenge, and the solutions have to work for everybody in town. And today's resolution is an example of doing that. So all in all, I'm grateful for the 4 years. I thank you all, and I'll be seeing you again, I'm sure.
Thank you, Jeff. In terms of challenges, we're seeing a greater challenge in fighting the COVID epidemic. That this epidemic is worldwide. It's now gone into a new variant, which is really spreading with very concerning speed across the region. Suffolk County has been posting extremely high rates of infection of COVID recently. And in the last 14 days, there's been an 85% increase in the number of positive cases. We've seen, beginning a week ago Monday, a huge upswing locally here of people seeking COVID testing. We have provided testing throughout much of this pandemic here at Town Hall and at other locations around town, whether it's been at the Panago ball fields or out in Montauk. The recent surge in the number of cases, people getting sick, whether it's COVID or other illnesses, the flu, bad colds, and wanting to know whether or not they've caught COVID has really spiked the demand. There have been issues with wait times here in East Hampton, but everywhere across the region is now experiencing wait times, sometimes multiple hours. I've had reports from folks in New York City who were able to get a test in 15 or 20 minutes are now waiting 3 hours or more in the street, sometimes in inclement weather, waiting to get tested. This is something that's occurring all over the country as people in advance of air travel, which is nearly at 2019 levels for the holiday season, or whether or not they want to, make sure that they're negative tested prior to visiting relatives or having relatives visit. We're doing our very best working with the vendor to provide as much testing here as possible. We've relocated the testing from Town Hall back to 110 Stephen Hand's Path, which is the former CDCH building where we also gave vaccines throughout last winter, spring into the summer. We have been continuing to give vaccination clinics right here at Town Hall. We had another one yesterday. As of now, we do have availability. We're booked through the 24th. There is some availability to get booster shots or initial vaccines on January 24th here at Town Hall from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you haven't gotten vaccinated, please seek a vaccination wherever you can get it as soon as possible. The numbers are truly concerning. As Kathy mentioned, I met with her and Director of Human Services, Diane Patrizio, yesterday and made the decision to suspend our senior services, nutrition, in-person services for the next 4 weeks out of an abundance of caution. This is well known to be the most vulnerable of people, those who are older in age or may have underlying conditions. There is a continuance of the mask mandate by the governor through the 15th of January. If you're in a public place indoors, you need to be wearing a mask. This is for your own safety and for the safety of others. We encourage everybody to respect this and to abide by it. We want to be able to get through these holidays with the least amount of infection as possible. It's a really trying time as we want to gather with others and celebrate the end of the year and the Christmas holiday, Kwanzaa, whatever it is you're celebrating. Please be very careful. Do what you can to prevent the spread. We need to not be so lax as we've become in fighting COVID. We're seeing the trajectory of this disease almost identical as it was at the same period in 2020. And, there are a lot more people vaccinated now. So the prevalence is expected to increase over time. And so I, again, urge caution, and we want everybody to stay safe. There is testing, as I said, at 110 Stephen Hand's Path, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I would just like to remind residents that here in East Hampton, we've made every effort to make sure that our residents and those who work here have access to testing and vaccinations. We do not have a hospital within our town borders. Southampton Hospital has been extremely helpful throughout this pandemic, but we are underserved out here. And so the town has taken on the responsibility to provide access to both testing and vaccinations. We're the only town in Suffolk County to do this. And we're only the second town on all of Long Island to offer testing. So I hope that people will remain patient. There may be some wait times. There are other options. You can go to a private physician. If they have testing, you can get test kits when they become available at our local pharmacies, or you can go to Southampton Hospital. But we are taking this on as a service to the community. We hope that you'll respect the workers who are putting themselves at potential risk by serving you and testing you, and those who are vaccinating you. So again, we hope that everyone stays healthy throughout this end of the year and into the new year. I do have a resolution to offer as a walk-on. It's to ratify the Memorandum of Agreement between the town and the bargaining unit for the emergency services dispatchers. We've reached agreement. They've ratified by vote of their group. And so I'll have that offering. And this will take the agreement from January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2025. That's what I have.
So can I do my resolutions?
Yes, Kathy, please.
Great. So starting with Resolution 2021-1423, and this needs to be in the headline, the title, Carol, needs to be amended. It should read, Adopt Amendments to Chapter 25 Code of Ethics. So I'm offering up this resolution as amended.
Second as amended.
Can we have a roll call on this, please?
All in favor?
Can we have a roll call on this, please?
Carol's unmuting.
Do a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Burke Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leaf.
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby.
You're muted, Sylvia.
I'm sorry, aye.
Councilman Bradman.
I'm recusing.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Aye. Passed and carried.
The resolution 2021-1424 is to approve the agreement with American Tower for the town's installation of emergency communications equipment on a communications tower at Camp Blue Bay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1425 is to accept bid EH21045, printing of town clerk permits, and that goes to Montauk Printing and Effects of Color.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1426 is to amend budget account in Resolution 2021-1338.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer Resolution 2021-1427. This is a bond for $455,000 for LED lighting replacement. The PPU on this is 5 years.
Second.
We have a roll call, please, Carol.
Councilwoman Burke Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leaf.
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby.
Aye.
Councilman Bradman.
Aye.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Aye. Passed and carried.
I apologize. 1428 is a distribution of net proceeds for the 2021 Turkey Run for Fun. And the total amount is $4,773 distributed equally between the four groups: the Montauk Food Pantry, East Hampton Food Pantry, Springs Food Pantry, and the East Hampton Meals on Wheels.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
1429 is amend resolution 2021-733. This is for the 2021 Water Quality Grant Awards. This is one of the 6 projects was awarded $50,000 for the final engineering design of the stormwater abatement process along Route 27 rest stop. And whereas the town board authorizes the total cost to complete the final engineering for stormwater not to exceed $130,000 to be awarded for the contractor through the RFP under a separate resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1430 is a notice of public hearing to amend urban renewal map SP1-2. We had a comment on it from a caller earlier that we had not had a public hearing on this amendment.
Town board work session.
On town board work, thank you. John, is there any urgency here?
I believe that the applicant has a pending purchaser and has been in contract for about a year on this property, waiting for this action to be scheduled for a hearing. So, I mean, I'll let you decide that, but certainly scheduling it for a hearing doesn't commit the board to take any action at all. And I'm not, frankly, I don't see this being a problem. We don't discuss every single move that the town board makes, and necessarily in a work session when you're having a public hearing on the matter. I mean, the comments that were made earlier were appropriate for a public hearing, they're not going to be in the record because there is no hearing yet. So,
Yeah, the public
it's
hearing.
up to you guys as
What
to
is
what
the
you want to
scheduled
do.
date for the public hearing?
I'm sorry?
The scheduled date for the public hearing is?
January 20th. So it's
20th, yeah.
So we have an opportunity to schedule a work session to discuss it prior to the actual hearing, correct?
yes.
You could, but it's just not going to be part of the hearing record at that point.
Understood. I mean, just
Okay.
for the board, I mean, that's an option we have. There's plenty of
David,
time.
you recall this application, don't you?
Yeah, correct. I wouldn't mind putting, I think this has come to us a couple times, but I think it's time to hear from the public right now. As John mentioned, let's get it on the record. And I think that's the best way forward.
But the public doesn't know what we're hearing if we haven't discussed it in a work sestion and we haven't made maps available on the website. So I think
Part of the hearing notice.
I think we should hold a town board work session and then schedule the public hearing. That's just my.
I think you could do both. You know, since it's not till January 20th, you still have the opportunity to hold a public work session ahead of the public hearing.
And we can do it on that on the 11th.
I prefer Kathy's solution, although I won't be here in January. I think it makes sense to put the maps up and discuss it, in a work session to see if we really want to do this.
Well, I agree with that position. I just think you could go ahead and schedule a public hearing now, and we'll have a public work session on the matter on the 11th. 9 days before the public hearing. That should give.
But if we decide we don't like it,
you can also go back and watch the planning board discussion.
You don't have to pass a resolution to accept it after the public hearing.
True, absolutely. I mean, you're not going to accept it until after you hear from the public anyway. So
Right.
I see no reason why we shouldn't just go ahead and schedule a public hearing and a work session on the 11th.
Yeah, I think the public comments are the most important thing, and certainly I think what we heard today was a public comment that needs to be in the record on this. So right now it says January 20th at 10 a.m. Are we staying with 10 a.m. for some reason, or should it say 11?
It should say 11.
Okay. So it needs to be amended, so it says 11 a.m. on January 20th.
Carol, is that background noise in your?
Yeah. I'm gonna try to mute Carol for a second.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Carol, I'm just gonna mute you. There, you got it. Thanks.
So again, resolution 2021-1430, notice of public hearing to amend the UR map SP-1-2, scheduled for January 20th at 11 a.m.
I have a second.
Second.
we have a roll call on this?
Carol, unmute Carol.
Councilman Bragman's requested a roll call on this.
Councilman Burke Gonzalez?
No.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday.
Councilman Lees?
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby?
Aye.
Councilman Bragman?
No.
Pass.
Oops.
You're in a hurry there.
Supervisor Van Scoyac?
Aye. Pass. Carried.
There we go. Okay, resolution 2021-1431 is to amend the start date for Town Planning Director Jeremy Samuelson. Jeremy's start date is January 1st, not January 3rd.
Second, as amended.
There's no amendment. It's not amended. It's correct.
Oh, I thought you, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carried.
Resolution 2021-1432 is to amend Resolution 2021-917. The town board adopted this Resolution 917, which contained a budget modification related to fine arts and sciences to provide professional consulting services to the town. Resolution contained an error referencing a prior resolution. This is to resolve that Resolution 2021-917 is hereby amended to reference Resolution 2021-742, not Resolution 273.
Second. I'm sure that's clear to everyone in the public.
That's what I was going, really?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1433 is, is a budget modification for Manor House. We are moving $500 from miscellaneous income, $500 to light and power.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1434 is to authorize payments in prior years to Sertelman, Balin, and on the Manor House. It's for a total of $215.28, and it is being paid out for invoices that weren't paid in 3 different years, 2018, 19, and 20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1435 is to authorize a memorandum of agreement between the town and the village of East Hampton. It is the intention of the two parties that the town of East Hampton, through its Office of Housing and Community Development, will issue permits, monitor, and otherwise approve tenant approvals in affordable housing units created under the Village Code, consistent with the regulations adopted by the village of East Hampton. It is agreed by the two that the town of East Hampton and the village will sign this agreement and resolve that the supervisor is authorized to do so.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1436 is to authorize a TDR for the village of East Hampton. This is from an acquired property, approximately 1 acre, located at 81 Ocean Avenue. And the acquisition of development rights and the right of the town board to transfer these rights when necessary. The village of East Hampton, by letter, requested the transfer of sewage flowage credits for the purposes of affordable housing to a site in the village at 11 Lumber Lane in order to comply with Suffolk County Health Department regulations. And the 81 Ocean Avenue site has been reviewed by both the town and the village staff and determined as an acceptable site. I don't know who that is.
I was going to mute. All right, there you go.
All right.
Second.
Okay. We're seconding the authorization of the TDR.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
And here's our energy efficient streetlights. This is Resolution 2021-1437 for the Power Authority of New York. NYPA offers its services to the town of East Hampton to identify and implement ways to reduce energy consumption by upgrading our existing streetlights. In the next paragraph, there's a typo. It says East Hamilton's existing streetlights. We want East Hampton's existing streetlights. East Hamilton may be a lovely place, but
East Hampton.
we like East Hampton better, and we need new streetlights. So it's resolved that the town board authorize the expenditure of not more than $455,000, such amount to be paid to NYPA, New York Power Authority, with a specified budget line.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1438 is to accept a road widening easement for urban renewal parcel 29 and EH2B. And this is for Paul Porco Custom Homes on Mulford Avenue in East Hampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1439 is to accept security and undertaking for urban renewal parcel 27 in Springs 2-1. And this is for Carlos Bermeo, care of Handy Hands Inc. on Gardner Avenue. And we are accepting a check from the People's Bank for $24,000.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1440 is to appoint a part-time substitute custodian at the airport at an hourly rate of $22 to be paid bi-weekly through effective December 17th, 2021 through January 28th, 2022 upon submission of time records.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1441 is to approve a survey of the Fort Hill Cemetery for an expansion. James Walsh Land Surveyors has agreed to pay for the surveying at a cost of $5,850, and the board in this resolution retains Walsh Surveyor to prepare the survey for additional plot sections at a cost not to exceed that amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1442 is to authorize a maintenance agreement for our automated weather observation system, which is installed at the airport. The AWAS system requires maintenance, and DBT Transportation Services has submitted a proposal at a total cost of $7,780 in an agreement dated December 9th, 2021. And this resolution would retain them pursuant to that agreement, and that they would provide the services for a period of 1 year commencing January 2nd, 2022 at an annual cost of $7,780 with additional cost as needed, invoiced in accordance with the schedule set forth in the proposed agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 2021-1443 is notice of public hearing, local law. Amend Chapter 37, Department Head Bonus Compensation Program. This is to add the title of Principal Accountant into that legislation. The public hearing will be scheduled for January 6th, 2022 at 2 p.m. or thereafter as it may be heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 1444 is to appoint student intern 2 to the town attorney's office. And this is D'Artagnan Nick Lyris, and he's appointed for a, period to include December 13th through December 31st, 2021. And that's at $16 an hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 1445 is termination of employee Michael Midget.
Second.
Effective December 10th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 1446, minimum wage increase for part-time employees. This is resolved that the minimum hourly rate for employees will be $15 an hour to meet the minimum wage guidelines set forth as New York State Department of Labor, effective December 31st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed carried. Resolution 2021-1447 is to approve payment Montauk improvement work. And this is for an invoice from McLean Associates regarding the elimination of flooding on Manor Road, Fort Pond Road. And it's in the amount of $750.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Resolution 1448 is to increase the cap for Dan Rezzo, Whiteman, Osterman, Hanna, LLP as outside environmental counsel, SECRA for 2021. And that is to resolve to increase the funding as required. Shall be capped at $20,000, constituting a total of $55,000 for the calendar year 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 2021-1449 is approved stipulation, new singular wireless versus the East Hampton Planning Board, Architectural Review Board of the Town of East Hampton, civil action number CV 20-3555.
Second.
Can we have a roll call on this, please?
Carol, you're muted. Could you do a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Burke Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilman Lees,
Aye.
Councilwoman Overby,
Aye.
Councilman Bragman,
Abstain.
Supervisor Van Scoyac,
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 1450 is a payout upon retirement for Richard Bell, and that is to issue a check from appropriate payroll account for vacation time in the amount of $9,468.54, sick time in the amount of $13,731.78, and compensatory time in the amount of $5,302.49, and a prorated longevity balance of $82.05 for a gross total payout of $28,584.86. Richard Bell, enjoy your retirement and thank you for your service to the town. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 1451 is payout upon resignation to Jonathan Moore, and that is in the amount of, $268.32 for vacation time, personal time in the amount of $1.38, and an available balance of $79.80 in compensatory time and $56.41 in longevity pay. And be it therefore resolved that the payout is in a total $133.49.
Second.
To the town. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 1452 is to ratify a memorandum of agreement between the town and dispatchers. This is memorandum of agreement with the East Hampton Town Police Benevolent Association Radio Operators Union. This agreement will go from January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Are there any other resolutions to offer?
There is, if we want to do the resolution that adopts the local law, creating Chapter 62 of the Town Code for the Bureau of Administrative Adjudication. Peter,
are you offering that? I don't have it in front of me.
I do have it in front of me. It's resolution ID number 27161, adopt local law creating Chapter 62 of the Town Code of the Town of East Hampton, Bureau of Administrative Adjudication. We held this public hearing on December 2nd.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. This is our last official meeting of the year 2021. It's been quite a year. We've experienced a lot of challenges, dealt with a number of important issues over time. And, we will have more challenges to face in the new year. We're dealing with climate change. We're dealing with coastal erosion, trying to properly size our airport to get it to the point where our community accepts it. And if we're not able to do that, then the future of the airport becomes more uncertain. We've dealt with the pandemic that's nearly 2 years long now, that has challenged each and every one of us in ways we never could have imagined. The way that we conduct ourselves, from the business that we conduct here as government or private industry, has changed dramatically. It's caused shortages. It's caused a lot of anxiety. Kathy spoke about the mental health challenges that our young people and all of us, frankly, face as a result of this. As we enter into this holiday season and as we look towards the new year, I hope that we all look at it within ourselves and consider the blessings that we do have. Consider those who are not as fortunate as ourselves. I encourage everyone to give to local not-for-profit organizations, of which there are many. All of these organizations help strengthen our local community, and participate in your local government whenever you can. We do appreciate that, as was said earlier today. We've had pretty good participation today, a number of people calling in. It is an important part of our democracy, and it's a great way to show your support for your community. We don't always agree on issues and topics, but doesn't mean we have to be disagreeable. I would just like to thank all of our town employees who've done a tremendous job and supported us here on the town board and the community at large throughout this past year. I was very pleased that we reached agreement over every single bargaining unit contract this year, and in addition to that, have begun the process of further supporting our town staff during what is now becoming a townwide housing crisis of shortage of staff throughout town, whether it's municipal government, teaching, private sector. So we still have a great deal to work on in the new year, but I just want to thank everyone to get us to this point, and for all of your support. Be kind to each other, stay safe, follow COVID protocols. And I want to wish Councilman Jeff Bragman well as he leaves public life and assumes his role in the community as a private citizen. We appreciate your service to the town.
Thank you.
And with that, I will bid everyone adieu. We do have, I believe, some executive session items to discuss here.
I make a motion that we go into exec session for CPF, personnel, and advice of counsel. Timing.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Shall we reconvene at 2 o'clock?
Could we do 2:15?
Works for me. It's fine with me.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
2:15, I'll send the link around. Stay safe. Be well, everyone.